Hello and welcome to episode 262 of the FReality Podcast. We are inching ever closer to year end, and now that we're full throttle into festive season, Santa's sleigh is full of goodies for all the naughty dogs. So, being a bunch of eager beavers we are, let's go open those presents up early. Up first, at the 2024 Game Awards, Gabe Newell showed off fitness games in his new Valve Deckard, priced at $249, sporting 3 times the power of the Apple Vision Pro, and available in all countries bar the United States. If CES was known for Mr. Handy, well, SIGGRAPH Asia was recently keeping up with the Joneses by showcasing Sony's secret sauce. We'll dip into that gooey goodness a bit later. I think Rowdy's been at the gym again, doing reps. That might explain why he's so Sora. Tee hee. Hee hee hee. Android XR, announced by Google, goes to chase after Meta and Apple's XR market share. This is big news, folks. We'll tell you the details a little later on. And Adam is our sous chef today, bringing us different, some might say, an elvish slant on releases that can only properly be delivered by this particularly festive lass. Love the little hat.
Thank you.
So next up for today's episode, it's crew highlights minus Jose. He's off doing something, probably helping users debug hubcap issues and topping up their headlight fluid. First up, with power levels over 9,000, all lit up like a Christmas tree, it's Adam. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, doing good. I was like, wait, when's Christmas and when is our next episode? I was like, okay, our next one's going to be after Christmas. So then I panicked and just grabbed like everything I could find. But doing good. It's so this little bit of minor work news, but I'm just so proud of this, and I do want to just share how intense children are. Live finally released. We have a camera, virtual camera that looks like a tablet that can now go in Quest native games, which is something that any Quest person has been asking for. And so we were very lucky enough where Gorilla Tag wanted to add this directly into their game. So we worked very hard with them for a while. It's in. Yesterday, I was like tense for several hours while the update was coming out because it went out in their holiday update. And so just watching the children, there's like our TikToks, the Gorilla Tag Discord gave us like a channel in there for feedback and stuff. And it was just nonstop, just like responding. And after we were watching our analytics that we have for this thing. And after 6 hours of release, we had over 1 million recordings.
Holy shit.
I think as of earlier this morning, it was like we were at 2 million recordings and like 88,000 hours recorded. It's nuts. Kids are insane. So we're super happy. This is like blown any of our predictions for stats, out of the water. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what percentage over we thought we were going to be, but I'm like, Gorilla Tag kids are hardcore, man. They're serious.
So this allows them to record in-game natively using the live stack? Yeah.
Instead of using like the metacasting, you open up the window and all that, or God forbid, MetaQuest Developer Hub, which trying to explain setting up that stuff to a child. I don't know. Good luck. So yeah, it's just a little tablet. They pick it up from one of the wardrobes in game. It's got like a third person mode, first person, and like selfie. You can change the vertical, horizontal, FOV, smoothing, all that stuff with each of the camera modes. Yep. And so yeah, and then it records natively on your headset. And so this is something that kids have been super excited for a long time. And man, we really nailed it when we were able to get it in Gorilla Tag because this thing's been awesome. But of course, it's it's new and kids are crazy, so we're finding weird stuff that they're doing with it, that like little bugs here and there. And for some reason, the kids like putting the FOV on way too like on max, where it's like
super
their
wide.
Distortions are stretched,
Yeah,
So it's like
that.
That's how field of view works, though. It's not really a bug. It's kind of maybe you just don't set your field of view so wide. I don't know, but it's been fun. I do have a big appreciation for kids though, because it's like, the Live team, we're only human. We're not going to be 24/7 customer support. So a lot of the kids are kind of helping each other out because some are having trouble accessing their files because Quest Gallery syncing. Like, as we already know, trying to get stuff off of the headset is just
Yep.
awful, but that's not that's not us. That's just meta. But it's really nice to see how much a lot of the kids are like willing to help other kids, and then they'll put like tutorials for other kids on how to do this stuff. And I'm like, and this is all within like 24 hours. Like we literally released you know, a little over 24 hours ago, and it's just I don't know. So I was like, yeah, for several, like 3 hours after launch, I was just like shaking and responding to things. And I'm just like, oh God, I hope that this works well. This is kind of a big thing.
Yeah, it's not fun when it doesn't work well, but I agree with you. Watching the ant farm play itself out is really fun. But
Yeah.
it's very warming, very kind of a holiday spirit when you see, some 9-year-old decides to put together a tutorial and help out everybody else, and it's like, wow, this is really neat. But it
It's
does
so
make me
cute.
feel old whenever you see that because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm out of that bracket.
And
Yeah.
it's also so just getting used to this
Congrats.
different, very loud and yelly demographic. But it's not bad. Oh, I wanted to mention something too. Uh,
Sure.
Home sports. We kind of made fun of the name a little bit last time for
Yes.
game releases, but I actually did get to try it, and
Hey,
I
cool.
actually like it. And I hate sports, so that's very telling. I did
Interesting.
the what do you call it? Like co-location, local multiplayer with my husband,
Yeah.
and it was actually really fun. Like it's
Maybe reintroduce the idea to people because not we unless we have a video of it,
home
they
sports.
won't know
Yeah.
what it is.
Home sports is basically Wii Sports, but in VR by Resolution Games. So they've gotten really good at their mixed reality stuff lately. So you can play bowling, badminton,
Oh, they do have
um,
bowling. Oh, sweet.
mini golf. Yeah. Another net sport. I can't remember what the other one is,
It's like an air
but
hockey thing, right?
oh,
Where you're
hockey. That one was really
hockey
fun too. Yeah.
and there's
Uh,
badminton.
but there's another net sport that I
Is
can't
there?
remember what. Yes, there's two net
Um,
sports. I don't remember
like
the
a
other one is.
volleyball or something?
No, no, it's another paddle net sport, not
Weird.
it's like
Pickleball.
Yeah,
pickleball,
I
I
was gonna
think.
Oh,
say
Is it pickleball? Was it
Rowdy
that?
always gets these like net sport things.
yeah.
Anyway, but it was surprisingly very fun, especially local multiplayer. And yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting because I was like, how are they going to do mini golf? Like people don't really have big setups. But what they do is uh it uses a combination of the data from the boundary plus where the balls are, and then after a person putts, it'll kind of recenter both of them to be within the boundary still. Like I don't know how to describe it, but if
Interesting.
that makes sense, but it'll keep it so that you don't have to worry about getting outside your boundary if one person's like too far off. So
So you're
it'll
so it's still basically intelligent and using the cloud point data for co-op local, but it's taking into consideration both of your positions and recentering the whole kind of
Yeah, the positions of the
map.
balls, the both ball
Interesting.
positions and the boundary. So it'll then,
Huh.
based on where those two balls are, it'll push it back in the center. Or more balls. I guess you could have up to 5, or I don't know what the max I forget is. But yeah, it's really cool. They did a lot of super smart things about it because you can
Huh.
set up the local play space. Obviously set up ahead of time, and what it does is it gives you a box, and you can kind of widen it out as much as you want. But then there's like a double behind you, so just keep that in mind because I didn't think to look behind me, and I was like, oh look, max, I can fit it. But then when I looked behind me, the second double one for like a racket type of a sport was just way past my garage, and I was like, oh, there's no way. Uh, so it sounds complicated, but it was just mostly my stupidity and not knowing how these things work. But I
Oh,
liked
that's
it.
nice.
It
So do
was
you think
super
that'll
fun.
be kind of a mini hit over the holidays as people get more headsets in the household? Like,
Yeah,
because there's not a
it's
lot you can
really
do local co-op multiplayer in mixed reality. So it's kind of a niche right now, but there's a few good games.
yeah, and they did. I would say that's also super friendly for like people who aren't familiar with VR. Probably have the obviously the person most experienced do the initial setup so they can just jump in the headset and do it. But even I will say with each mixed reality game that Resolution puts out, their setup gets easier and easier. You don't have
Yep.
to worry about like, oh, go in your meta settings and toggle this thing and have developer
Right.
mode, and it's like, oh god, like that was just so awful. But but that they've been doing a really good job with like it's everything in game. Just you can either draw it out or stretch out the boundary to fit your space. You can see it live. It's just really good. So major props to Resolution Games. They're just doing really well with the local multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, and we need it. We need it because once people have a really good time together, whether it's co-located or remote with somebody else, like walkabout mini golf or something, I feel like that's what sticks. That's
Mhm.
enough to convince somebody to buy a headset. Like I remember doing Dance Central on Xbox 360 with the Kinect camera with my wife side by side, and I was like, that's it. And that night, like, went off, picked a console up just for the Kinect features because it's like
Ah.
I want to go down a raft, with my wife and I jumping and waving our arms. Like it was that we experience kind of, next generation. And that's honestly what all this MR craze since Quest 3 landed has really been about. So it's good. It's funny. I'll wait for my highlight, but mine's also in that kind of domain as well. It's funny.
Okay.
So lovely. Very good. Well, congratulations on the Gorilla Tag Cam. I look forward to seeing what those kids come up with because they definitely have some cinematographers out there budding.
Yeah.
Yep. And with that, let's hand over to Rowdy, who is powered by artificial intelligence with an underline on artificial. Rowdy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I think my highlight is, we talked about it a little bit before the podcast, but it's definitely the release of different AI models.
Okay. He's poking me there. There's an inside joke there waiting to come out.
Yeah, yes. I know that we'll be talking about it a little bit later, so I won't go too much into detail. But yeah, I think this week again, it starts to feel like almost every week where there's like so much that happens in that particular scene. I'm very much involved in that because of work as well. I think that the biggest one that came out there is probably what people were waiting for a long time, which was the text to video model that we saw coming from OpenAI called Sora, which is I read mixed reports on it a little bit. Some people expected more, other people think that it's absolutely mind-blowing. I'm thinking more in the latter because again, once these tools get into community or get released, the proprietary models get released, and you're going to see very fast that you see these community-based models really pick up after that as well, and probably blow other ones out of the water. That frontier is just moving really fast, I think. I know that we talked about text to video a little while ago, but just to see, the state at or the level of what this is right now, I think it's really impressive. Just to see that, I know that I posted it in the chat as well, but I don't think it will be very long before we'll see, some 16-year-old sitting in his mom's basement making like an absolute blockbuster movie that compete with those $100 million budgets. I really don't think that is that far away anymore, and we're gonna see that happening soon, which is a scary thought as well because the entire movie industry is there's multiple movie industries, but we're gonna see that kind of like dilute a little bit. I think there's a lot probably for like screenwriting and that kind of stuff, but even those jobs are like with ChatGPT are getting kind of, well, I would say different. They're starting to change a little bit as well.
And where do you think it's going to affect us in this industry? Like, do you think it's going to, indie devs aren't going to worry too much about a bigger marketing budget? They'll just kind of splice together images of their game, and then some people, virtual people, through a Sora kind of video and glue it all together and be like, that's my trailer. I mean, like, where do you see this?
Yeah, especially
for us.
Especially because there's a lot of criticism right now to OpenAI because they believe that a lot of game content was used to specifically train this Sora model. So yeah, I do think there's probably we're going to see a lot more impressive trailers that look really, really good from probably smaller development studios that normally don't have the budget to create these kind of trailers. So that's what I mean with it's going to dilute a little bit. I think, these kind of industries that really focus on those specific things. Is that really going to change gaming? I don't think so because, trailers are one thing. We're still waiting for GTA San Andreas in VR. So far we've seen a screenshot. I'm just thinking that, there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening, particularly in that field when it comes to trailers, movies. Exciting
we'll
times.
be next year. We'll be producing the FReality Christmas special.
Yay!
Well, that's another thing. Like, there's already models where you can, for example, you could upload like a document, like a PDF, and then create a podcast from it. And then it's just like, AI generated voices that are talking about the document. It's like a full-on podcast.
Is that the one that like is sort of like a teaching aid mostly, but you could technically use it as a podcast? Like it's a study thing, right?
Well, there
Does
are
Google-
specific models that are just doing, or it's not models. It's more like fine-tuned models that are proprietary now, and they're on the website. You can go there and just upload a document, and then it turns it into a podcast. I know that for the scientific community, they're doing that a little bit because it's better to talk about papers than it is to just read them. So they're like kind of implementing that kind of stuff. Where it just feels very professional to have people talk about your paper and posting that on sharing platforms. So yeah, even we'll be out of a business.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because I'm thinking who's most threatened by it, and if you're an actress, that's or actor I think is the term now, but they're also coming after the acting ability as well. But if you're just someone who appears in a Jaguar ad, right? You're like hired talent just to look pretty, boy or girl, whatever. I feel like that's going to get replaced pretty quickly. So why do I pay a person if I can just put a generic person there? I think about,
or an actual Jaguar. Like, have you seen those? A lot of memes going around where it's like women turning into panthers and stuff for some reason.
No, I have not seen that, but that sounds
big
like
thing
fun.
on TikTok. I don't know why, but
Is that not a pivot off of the whole Jaguar copy nothing meme? And the funny thing is the phone company Nothing put up a thing that says copy Jaguar. So it was like you had these copy Nothing and copy Jaguar. It was hilarious. For a few weeks that was up.
I do think to talk about maybe the movie industry, there's also particular models right now that, for example, someone who's 45 could play someone who is 15, because they can de-age you and make you look younger again. So you don't need 3 or 4 actors to play one particular role anymore, just in different ages. It's just one actor that you're then using AI for to make them look a particular age, 9 years old, or
that's
stuff
that's a really weird Benjamin Button tech application. But I'm kind of all for it because especially in the last 3 or 4 films I've seen Harrison Ford in, I'm like, he's really showing his age. He looks like a grandpa now. He is right. But the point is okay, there's that, but then there's also can you not just be yourself anymore? Do we have to? It's almost a digital extension of people who use hair dye to color, their hair, because that's I'm going gray, but it's no longer acceptable to be gray. Is it going to be no longer acceptable to be young?
Where's it going to end? Just when Photoshop first came out and people were airbrushing the heck out of everybody, is there going to be a new standard of beauty, of fake beauty? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think it's coming. I think that is exactly it, and I think it's kind of scary because it's basically saying, just like the Instagram phase of don't show your real life, just show all the good bits, and it's going to be don't show your real self, just show your ideal self, and that's kind of where we're headed, metaverse wise. Anyway,
though, that is not because of AI. I would say, because we had digital movies for ages now, right? Avatar is probably the most famous example of where we see that kind of happening, where the actors kind of look like the actors. I know that, for example, The Last of Us, the game as well, which was, again, the actors in that game look like the actors in real life, but also digitally altered. So that kind of stuff has been happening for ages. AI just makes that a lot easier and cheaper to do so. So we're going to see that more because the price tag has changed for it, I would say. And then if I was a famous actor right now, which I'm not, luckily, but I would look into, figuring out ways, the Netflix episode where, this person kind of sells their persona, and then they make movies and series about them. And
from Black Mirror, the more recent. That's a weird one. Yeah,
exactly. So I think in that particular way, I think that is something that is we're going to be seeing a lot more, I think, where these actors like kind of like give up the rights to use their image and sell that to make it cheaper for people to make movies with that. I don't think that really famous actors will do that, but definitely like, those up and coming or those that are, maybe not as famous, to see that happening, because otherwise they can't compete in an industry where AI is just so much easier.
Like a VTuber of yourself, sort of.
Right.
Because there was that Black Mirror, the political episode too, that was kind of, I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, where it was like a guy was a character and they just ended up using his character to push some kind of political agenda. It was a very early, one or two.
No, it's more of a recent one where it's like a woman, but it's like also Inception levels of like, like it goes like really far. But basically the concept in that one was that person who she was playing was actually a character that sold her rights to use her image. But then it was being used in a way that she didn't agree with. Yeah.
I feel like we're going to blow past that very fast because like, why pay someone for like, it's the same thing. Like, okay, there's a great song that everybody loves, and there's also cover bands that would do like an alteration of that song that's just far enough that no one's going to copyright strike them or what. Like, they just use the song that sounds kind of like that. It's the same thing for images. Like, why wouldn't I just use a digital actor, actress, whatever, that looks kind of like that?
Well, I mean,
famous person.
For the same reason why we're seeing, series with famous singers who have no acting experience because they draw numbers. If Taylor Swift would, make a Netflix series, then it's, have you seen the Netflix series with Taylor Swift? Nobody cares about the content anymore, but it's because of the character that is in there that brings a fan base. So for very famous actors, I think it does make sense. They're not going to get replaced by AI because people still want to see, those actors. It's going to take some years. I'm just wondering, when are we going to get like the first fully AI character that we're going to see across multiple movies?
Jesus, I just saw something in chat that's a little disturbing. Virtual Steve says a lot of people would get an AI filter for their significant other. They would never even know it's activated.
Are we talking about like voice, looks, context of what they're saying?
All the above, I think. Still to come. All right, cool. Well, Rowdy, that's Nate, keeping us on our toes about what's new in the world of AI. Certainly coming our way. I'm interested in how the world adapts with that. Jose is away today. So here we are, nestled the three of us in chat. Thanks for coming along. I'm going to drop you my highlight. But if you hate kids and happy family moments, this next bit might make you puke. So for a while now, I've been hankering for some multiplayer fun with the family. So my wife, my daughter, who's 10 years old, named Jade, and I picked up a couple of copies of Multibrush and went all holiday mode together on stream. I used the Logitech MX Ink, this virtual pen, for the first time, and was definitely sold on it in terms of how it performed. Before now, it felt awkward, and I wasn't really bought into the whole idea. But it was neat to jump in and all of a sudden see my family in a mixed reality mode, and then they all got drawing, Christmas trees and stockings and all that. My wife filled up my stocking with coal, as you do when you're glued to a cantankerous old fool like myself. She filled her own with cash money, dollar bills. And my daughter created this smoking high heat furnace. It was lovely. Flame bubbling up out of this thing, smoke coming out of it. Wow. And then coaxed her baby sister to climb inside. Classic Jade moment there. Nice. But it was like a really nice festive gathering just to like have all these basically digital ornaments in this space in a way that we can save and reload whenever we want to. And it really touched us. Like, it was weird how almost semi-permanent it felt, because we were, in that space, in that environment with all these creations for like an hour. And then when you like double tap the headset and you come out, you're like, oh, all our decorations are gone. Like, I want them back. It was a really weird, like, mixed reality moment for my wife and I. So, but it's really neat to be able to like fill your room with objects you've made, and it's kind of like having your kids' art on the wall to that extent. So, we saved it, but that's kind of where we're going. And maybe next year, I'll just reload this up, see the same tree, see the same stockings, and go, what? Coal again? But it was a nice moment to have. So I look
That
forward
is
to
so
doing that more.
cute.
Yeah.
I liked seeing you guys like take the picture together. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Is
There's
it
a few.
is it sad though when you like take off the headset and then you're like, oh, like the room's sad again? Like
Absolutely. And that's the weird thing. It's like stepping off of you're like stepping down off of a stepladder. You're like, your kind of festive mood just all of a sudden darkens. It was a weird moment. I wasn't expecting it. The thing that I would say is like this thing is super accurate. I was not expecting it. This is a gift. I'll say a gift that I got from Meta along with a creator pack or whatever. And I would never buy one of these myself before trying it. And then it's got kind of a pressure plate so you can like draw thinner lines, but it works really easily. And the finesse with which you can take in multi-brush like these palettes of like sound activated various brushes that you've got all kinds of strokes, bubbles and smoke and electricity and all manner of things. I mean, my wife drew on the floor Santa's footprints, like dirty mud on a white carpet, and it looked quite realistic. So I looked down and you had to take a double take because you're like, hey, who dragged mud on the carpet? And I don't know, just that whole thing was like, it was a really nice moment. I believe it. You never know.
I do find it funny. You have like a Christmas tree, and then behind it's like a Doom poster.
Doom.
Yeah. It also reminds me a little bit of that. You remember when like VR like came out initially, and there was this picture of this guy like sitting in a room, like an empty room with like a headset on, and he was like completely like like a crackhead, like having fun in his like empty room. It's like that's what this reminds me of as well, Zim.
That bad? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in a way,
to some
like
extent, that's it.
Yeah,
right?
because you're decorating your room, you're making it look nice, isn't that? And the dystopian version of that is that you don't need furniture, you don't need anything around that area. You just have it in VR.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a weird feeling, and it's neat where we're going. But when some of that stuff becomes more permanent or semi-permanent, like you're able to adorn. That's really what got me excited when they had those. I think they were called anchors, but like these virtual objects that are just whether it's a mirror or a clock or an album cover, whatever it is. But like being able to kind of lay this as a filter on your existing place is I can't wait until that becomes more permanent. Where like you load the headset up and things are just in the place where you put them.
Augments, right? I think augments.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah, and I know Meta put the brakes on that for like a year while they were focused on Quest 3S, but the 3S and the 3 do this really, really well. And like there's other headsets that we'll talk a little bit later today about like have similar capabilities. And so I really am excited for the permanence of like mixed reality, almost to the point where like, you're encouraged to be in MR or whatever. So looking forward to that. I think it's going to be pretty neat.
Nice.
I look forward to that.
I just want to read a Mad Hatter comment. Some people see a loving family, some see crackheads, I guess.
I didn't mean it like that, but
thank you, Hatter. No, he did. I finally got to try. I'm not going to show you this, but I have to tail off what we said last week. Remember when I said years ago I tried like the very first Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I was really frustrated because when you crash the plane, it would just give you a prompt saying your plane had crashed, and there was no fire, there was no explosion. Well, I finally got to try out Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. Immaculate cockpit detail, gorgeous scenery in the landscape. But when you crash the plane, guess what happens? A pop-up saying, sorry, you crashed.
Oh, no.
It's unforgivable.
For
I can't
both of
believe
them?
it. Yes, both games. Exactly the same. And my understanding is that, Microsoft don't want their plane turning into a, 9/11 simulator or something, right? So fair enough. But at the same time, I want a mod that allows me to go down in feckin' flames. Like, I really, really want that. And I am so forlorn that it's been like 20 years and still no crashy. Like, did you not learn from Grand Theft Auto, right? Let me hang out with a hooker in my Cessna, please. Thank you. Anyway.
Did the 2024 version actually run? Did it run well on your computer? Because don't you have like
So,
a 2
the
series or
hooker?
something?
Yeah, I have a 2
No,
series.
I mean both.
I had so yeah, that was interesting because some people were saying that 2024 is like optimized for VR in contrast to 2020. I would disagree. So 2020 for me on old hardware on an RTX 2080 Super ran in such a way that I would be able to play the game. I wouldn't say it was comfortable. Maybe 40 frames a second, right? But it was enough that like, I could fly over Bora Bora. I could, take a look at London or whatever. 2024, more like 15 frames a second. So like definitely uncomfortable, was runnable. You could play it. And both games are massive. Like you're talking 100 gigs or whatever. So if you want to download them, it takes a bit of time. But the thing that really smacked me in the face that I didn't know about Microsoft Flight Simulator, I thought it was like an all-in-one package. And once you got that package, like you could go anywhere in the world and see the detailed airports they advertise. No, it's not that. In fact, you look at a map, kind of like when you're tracking, a friend's plane who's going to land, and you're like seeing all the planes fly over the United States or something like that. But like 10% of the content, like you own with the base game, which is already expensive, and everything else, kind of like DCS or other flight sims, you have to buy piecemeal, and they're bloody expensive. So there is a lot of DLC, an overwhelming amount of DLC. So in addition to the machine you need to run it, which is probably, again, a 40 series, RTX graphics card, plus whatever processor you need, the VR equipment, then you buy the game. Then you don't have to buy the DLC, but like if you want the full experience, right? You want the high detailed airports and that. My God, it's like the amount of money you put into it. Probably put $3,000 in before you blink, if not 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't be playing Flight Simulator for myself very much, but it was nice to dip my toes in. I think you have to be a hardcore simmer to really appreciate that stuff, to be honest. So that is
Nice.
that. Yeah. And then one quick mention was I sold my Quest 1s again. It was a bit of a funny moment. Like I posted them, sold them, and I had a weird thing with probably the most like wholesome guy. A guy was buying Quest 1s for his 6-year-old and 16-year-old for Christmas. Met him in a parking lot or whatever and gave him the equipment. But he kept like upping the amount he was going to give me. And I posted him for a certain amount of money. And then he ended up paying me like more than $100 more. Just like, I don't know. He was just in the giving season or something. I don't know what it was. He was so grateful.
Do you look like a guy that he feels sorry for?
Maybe.
You look like you could use more money.
Wait, did he maybe also want the hooker experience?
He's like
for a 6 and a 16-year-old?
Pay a little extra. Hey, they're grown up fast these days.
In the parking lot.
Grown up fast. But it was just it was so nice to kind of feel that. Actually got me a little bit teary at the moment because I was like, geez, man, it's so nice that like first off, someone's bringing their kids into VR. Like, because they already had a headset, but apparently it was falling apart. But actually, I was really, really surprised. I was shocked, I would say, how well the Quest 1 holds up. Like, I know most of the games have been deprecated, the store's been shut down, all that kind of stuff. But when I was testing it, like, honestly, the panel doesn't look that bad, and even in contrast to like a Quest 3, like it's totally usable. My wife said the same thing. And I was like, this is nuts that it's actually good enough that it still has merit in this year. It's just weird. So yeah, Quest 1s, Quest 2s are gone from my possession now. But it was nice to see those go to good second homes. That's right. Really important for me, so that the technology gets properly used. And it'll probably be a month before that 6-year-old bashes them into a wall trying to take a selfie in this new capture tool that Adam just pushed out. So there you go, in Gorilla Tag. So that was it. That was my little quick bit about my highlights. So yeah, just consider, I would say, like mixed reality as a good Christmas time experience if you have multiple headsets.
Yeah,
definitely heartwarming. And next up, a word from today's sponsor. Well, when you're done playing VR horror games, Doom 3 in VR with a mod, GTA 5 or Gorn, you might want a palate cleanser, a reset, something that's smooth like vanilla ice cream on a warm summer day. And that's why I'm glad to announce a new Synth Riders DLC. This is Barbie Dance and Dream. For the first time in a VR rhythm game, enter the world of Barbie through an immersive musical Synth Riders experience. It's a world inspired by Barbie that flows all around you while you play and dance to the rhythm. You soak in rays at the beach and groove at the roller disco while bopping along to the K-pop hit Barbie Dreams featuring Kelly by 50/50 from Barbie the album. Now I didn't try this. I'm too manly. So instead, we sent Adam in. Adam, what did you think of this? Did all your, girly dreams come to life in a world of pink?
Well, as the token girl on the podcast made to play the Barbie Synth Riders DLC, and I will say, like, I wasn't a huge fan of just Barbie or the song. I thought the movie was fine, but the Synth Riders experience was actually really good. I tried it in both the VR and MR mode, and the experience in this one is kind of refreshing because their past experiences have all been more kind of like, I don't know how to describe them, grand, but the skybox is like black so that things pop up. So it was kind of nice to see something very bright and colorful. And like, this is easily probably their most not intense, that's a wrong word for it, but most technically detailed experience that they've ever put out yet. And even the mixed reality version was super fun because it starts you off, it's the same thing sort of, but it starts you off with the Barbie box, and then it expands, and that expansion in the box you see, the regular Synth Riders, what you would get in VR, except you have like clouds that are passing through the box into your room, and hearts, and like little what looks like projections of the stuff happening in the scene, like cars or just lines coming in. It was really cool, actually. Like, it was really well done. So if you haven't, even if you're not a fan of Barbie, just check it out to see like how crazy this thing is. It starts off not even feeling like it's going to be a Synth Riders thing. You're like, oh, I'm watching a cutscene for a Barbie game, I guess. Like, it was really good. I recommend, highly recommend.
Are you sold on it, Rowdy?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was sold before.
It's $3. You can get it on Quest. You can get it on PCVR. You can get it on PSVR2. I'm actually going to end up trying it out because it does sound cool. And in particular, when you move from virtual into your like own space, like that it plays some weird mind tricks. It's like a Jedi mind trick. It's really
weird because like, again, in the beginning, there's parts where like clouds sort of brush past your feet out of the box, and I could almost feel cold. It was the weirdest thing. I don't know, but they did a really good. I think your daughters would really like it too. Actually,
that's a good point.
Wasn't too much a fan of the music, but like I could appreciate everything else. It was just so bright and colorful, and a lot was happening, and it was fun. It was good.
I gotta say, it's fun that my daughters inherited the Barbies from my wife because most of them have their heads chopped off, or their clothes are missing, or like it's. I don't think they have an intact Barbie.
Maybe they don't like Barbie.
Or your wife didn't like Barbie.
Yeah, that's more it. I think my wife was a little. It was like me, melting GI Joes in the microwave and stuff like that. So, all good. Well, I'd like to thank Cluj for their ongoing sponsorship of the FReality Podcast. I think it's a natural fit, Barbie and FReality, and they've got something else to come. I don't know what it is. I'm guessing they're going to bring Oppenheimer in. That's my guess. It'd be really funny if they did an Oppenheimer DLC with like foreboding music and stuff. That'd be neat. And with that, let's get on with a smorgasbord of updates for you. So first up, something spotted in the wild. This is at SIGGRAPH in Asia. Is something I never expected to see, which is PSVR2 hand tracking. I don't know. It's weird. Like, Sony is like a bad ex-girlfriend, on and off again. It's like, like, are you going to support it or not? Like, you bring new technology, you give it no marketing budget, you give sales, like, what? Make your mind up, right? But I won't complain. As someone who likes hand tracking and is very convenient, is PSVR2 seems to be sporting and showcasing the capability for its cameras to track your hands, which is really neat. So again, PSVR2 is a headset that has inside-out tracking, but this is not something we've seen before. Now, in particular, I got excited at this, not just this kind of showcase demo, which was the first link. Second link I have is from a guy called VR Nima, used to run like SVVR, for example, and he's recently moved off to Japan, and he claimed it was like the best hand tracking fidelity that he's witnessed. And he shows off in a demonstration kind of intricate finger movement and gestures, and claimed that the kind of quick nature of the hand tracking was really great. So I don't know what Sony's plans are for this, but if, like what we have in Quest or Apple Vision Pro, the ability to move around menus, to just kind of navigate more easily without controllers in hand, is actually really nice. Like, it's a really nice feature, because the way I like to think about that is, today, if I want to start up my headset, for example, and jump into, in that lovely OLED panel, jump into, like, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, I have to have a controller in my hand, or the PSVR2 controllers in hand. And if I could just use gestures with my hands free, it just makes that whole onboarding process that bit easier. So there you go. PSVR2 hand tracking. I think that's...
Is it using
pretty
the PlayStation camera to like, what's it using to track the hands? Or...
the camera's on the headset, so the inside out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that was my worry. Is it's like, oh no, are you going to be like only forward facing? Like if it's like some kind of like Connect like thing?
That's not what I understood from looking at the articles. I understood it's the inside out cameras that are tracking your hands, which is pretty
Interesting.
cool if they actually manage to pull that off. And if they release that as a free update, it's yet another thing that encourages users to come into the ecosystem. Now, I would not expect that technology to pass into the PCVR adapter space, because there's a number of features that they don't have supported there. So I would not expect that to be compatible with the PCVR adapter that we have for PSVR2. But in terms of its native use cases, I think it's a nice add-on, definitely a value add, and it does show that Sony's still working away at engineering, at least in the software space, for the PSVR2 headset. Other thing I'll just quickly mention is the PSVR2 had a bunch of sales recently with Black Friday and all that kind of stuff, had a peak in sales, more than 200,000 units. And again, more people, more homes with a PS5 and a PSVR2 is going to make for a pretty cool holiday season. So whether or not you're opening up, PSVR2 or a Quest or any other headset, it's always great to see, early January, photos, videos of families getting into this, first time experiences with grandma. Like, I really look forward to that. And of course, like Gorn brought to us back in the day, Rowdy, broken televisions. Absolutely can't wait. Watch the VR to ER thread on Reddit if you're interested in tracking that. Okay, but we're not done with our PS VR to ER.
Yeah.
I do hope the death counter doesn't go up. To date, I only know of 2 VR fatalities: the Russian guy who fell through a glass table, and the kid who shot his mom for not allowing him to buy something on his Quest. Both of those are sad stories. But I hope we don't
VR adjacent.
add to that. What's
Perfectly
VR
reasonable?
I mean, it's not like he died in the headset. It could, like, you could replace the VR with a console or literally anything else. So not completely VR related, but
he did it while he was in VR. No.
Pass through, hey.
Be great for contractors or breachers. Like, terrible. Okay, I'm stop
no.
there. I'm gonna stop there. All right, so we're getting another kind of freebie in terms of VR for actually Gran Turismo. So a lot of people would look at Gran Turismo as a game. It's quite, it touts itself as a simulator. It's a little bit more arcadey than a hardcore simulator, I would say. But Gran Turismo 7 is one of the single use cases that people would use to justify purchase of a PS5 and PSVR2. But now they've dropped out a brand new game, kind of like a game demo, I guess, but it's a standalone thing. It's called My First Gran Turismo, and it actually offers 18 vehicles in kind of a snapshot of Gran Turismo. And if you happen to own GT7, you can also play this game, play through it, unlock the vehicles, and it's worth several million in car count, and you can just port those back to your GT7. So maybe I'll end up jumping into this, but it's primarily for people who thought Gran Turismo looks too expensive. They want to have a free dabble in the game. Now you can. But just be careful. This is a very expensive hole, okay? So if you go into Gran Turismo and you're like, wow, the cars are really this nice, it looks this good in the headset, and then you go for a wheel, and then you go for things that vibrate, it all gets very, very, adult bank balance impacting very soon. So be
hookers.
Hookers, more hookers.
Big hole to fall into.
God damn.
Big wheels.
Okay. With that, I'll just give a quick mention to the Upload VR Winter Showcase. Quite a long showcase that they had this year. Number of things, awards. I won't give you a kind of a synopsis here per se. Watch it for yourself if you're interested in that kind of thing. But it was interesting to see all manner of kind of VR developers and content creators come together for a big old showcase. They go from strength to strength every year, I find, and this year was no different. We will show you on screen a little clip from Animotive, which is like a staging application that allows VR. So VR have a I'll say competing VR podcast where they have virtual characters in a scene, and they're able to cut between different cameras and look in different places and get a little bit more kind of interactive in that space. I still think there's a huge uncanny valley personally, and I find it difficult to watch these cartoon characters do anything serious, but we're getting there. And so this is more, camera filming equipment and technology from Animotive. So that was one little highlight that I wanted to call out from the Upload VR Winter Showcase. Adam, did you watch that? Did you have any highlights you wanted to mention from the showcase?
Not with this one. I only watched the Game Awards. I feel like I just totally missed this one completely somehow, and I didn't see it much on social media either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Kind of slipped
it
on
skipped
the
me
radar
as
a
well.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, and I didn't even know it was happening. Our last podcast, that one for some reason snuck under the radar, as Rowdy just said. So that was the Upload Winter Showcase. Now, as we're going to talk about the Game Awards, as we have in the thumb. Thank you for a lovely thumb again, Adam. The hype building up to this one was just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. People were saying Half-Life 3 was going to get announced.
I want to believe.
Lord Gaben was going to be there to show off his new Deckard. My obviously clear as hell lies introduction to this part earlier in the podcast, I'm going to apologize for. I love that type of humor. But I know I saw a post from Nathy saying that we were going to get Half-Life Gordon, for example. Everyone seemed to be kind of in this flurry of it's coming. This is it. This is the event. We've had this several times before, and I'm definitely tiring of it. I love the hype, but then sitting on what was 3 hours of flat gaming for this event, watch the whole thing end to end live, and then you get a kick in the teeth at the end, which is Astrobot took Game of the Year home. And you're like, that could have been a VR game. You could have been a contender. Why didn't you give us Astrobot, Sony? Come on, Asobi. Come on. Anyway, it was fun to watch. There's loads of really cool flat game news pieces, lots of sequels coming out, all kinds of things. And I won't go through all of those, but I was really curious. Adam, did you take away anything from your watch of the Game Awards that you wanted to mention here? Things that got you excited?
I don't know. It wasn't much. It was a long show, so I did spend some time working and looking casually. But the Helldivers, yeah, I think I talked to you about this a little bit. The Helldivers update, I forget what it's called, but it was available right now. And I freaking love when announcements do that. It's they show a really cool trailer and you could just jump into the thing right away. It's it kind of was a 50 gigabyte update.
No. I got to correct that.
Oh,
so I've not been in Helldivers for what feels like maybe 6 months. And so I was downloading loads of content up there. It was a 5 gig if you're up to speed. But for me, I went to download the game and I was I'm definitely checking this out. Rang my buddies, was we're going in. Because Helldivers 2 is definitely my flat game of the year. All hands down. I played it in PSVR2. I played it in Quest 3, massive screen, wonderful environments, no HUD. And Omens of Tyranny brings about a new enemy race. So we had the Terminids, which were bugs, and then there were the automatons who were Terminators, and now we have the Illuminate, which are basically, I'm going to call them
zombies.
Just zombies. They're basically zombies, but very, very much like zombies mixed with the War of the Worlds. So there's something that my friends and I were calling the tripods, which are these 3-legged giant alien things that shoot a beam laser out, very much like Half-Life 2. You have those walkers that come along that have the kind of guns. So it is pretty neat. It's got vehicles that are drivable, kind of like Halo style, where someone can jump in the back. Anyway,
I was about to say it looks a lot like the Flood in Halo.
Yeah. It has Halo baked in there. It's got maybe Call of Duty Zombies. It's a nice addition. It fits in well. I would say after having played it for 2-3 hours maybe last night with my buddies, it does attract me back into the game. And there were 180,000 players, yeah, even just yesterday playing this thing, which is great to see the Helldivers community sweep back in. They got a few game wins like best multiplayer game, best community supported game. So thankfully they've come back from all of the network drama and availability drama which happened earlier in the year at a really unfortunate time for them. So a big hats off to that studio. They made a great game. I'm still waiting for a VR mod to come so I can play that properly with like a third person camera. Would be amazing.
Of some sort. A native
HUD.
VR HUD. Like, how do you know? This guy doesn't know people are down because he can't see anything. Or where people are even. He needs to physically be within visual distance of the... It's so frustrating.
I'm a guy who was cut. I cut my cloth on Left 4 Dead 2, where you could go into the mode where if you can't see somebody, like they're down, they need your help, but they're crying, all you have to go is by the audio cues. Back, and I love that. I love how hardcore it is. So yeah, that's still me in Helldivers. There you go. So yeah, we unfortunately got ourselves disappointed. If you were tuned in for the VR part of the awards, there wasn't much. There was one thing, and I'm currently skipping the Steambox mention, but the best VR AR game was awarded, as it was some years ago, to another Bat game. It was Batman: Arkham Shadow that took the win there. So Camouflage, of course, do excellent work. Kind of not much of a surprise. It did feel like the awards were again suffering from recency bias, like in terms of their picks. It was all stuff really from like Q3, Q4. And next podcast, we'll talk about our VR picks of the year, ask you yours, do the old Slido word pile thing we do every year. So definitely looking forward to that. We'll confirm the date. At the moment, it's tentatively scheduled for the 28th of December, but we might bump that around. Depends on everyone's schedules with their families and stuff like that. So keep your eyes out. That's always fun to see. Take a cross-sectional view of what's been going on in the VR industry, people's sentiments, and what they look forward to next year. But in the run-up to this, we also had mention of a Steam box. Now, Steam box is a bit of a weird one here because the idea is a few years ago, we had Valve pushing for Valve hardware in that kind of media PC spot where it's like you would have a Steam box connected to your TV so you could play your Steam games, away from your computer. And now there's again fresh rumors from this, on fire rumor mill that maybe we'll get more hardware that would be compatible with Steam Deck, be compatible with the future, Deckard Valve headset that's a standalone headset. I'm really interested because so far, Valve have been doing great work in hardware. These are all just rumors at the moment, but I would certainly welcome it now. Whereas with the Steam box that we talked about, I think last podcast, I wasn't so much a fan, and it was kind of like, yeah, I think you guys aren't gonna. Yeah, this will be like what Rowdy was saying. It'll be here and it'll be gone in a year, and it kind of was that. So I look forward to seeing what Valve's next play is and whether or not they choose to enter the hardware space again.
Round two.
Round two.
Yeah. So just any thoughts about the Game Awards were largely flat games. I thought it was sneaky because Batman Arkham Shadow and the Camouflage devs clearly had meta whispering in their ears. They're like, mention Asgard's Wrath. Mention Asgard's Wrath too. And so they snuck in a like, oh yeah, this other studio, Asgard's. It's like, we won, but here, also maybe go buy this game. I haven't been back. Have you been back in a while, Adam, into Asgard's Wrath?
No, like... But it's also because I have so many other games to play. So I'm like, that meme where they, you drop Woody. And it's like, I'm done playing with you now. Like, there's just so much other stuff to do. I still liked it, and they're still actively updating it and having those like, I don't know if you like seasonal sort of things you can participate in, but it's too much. But I did want to mention from the Game Awards, like, because everybody was so hyped about maybe Half-Life or Deckard. And at the end, the host is like, oh, and this is the one announcement that you've been waiting for. And then it's like, Okami, which I like Okami. Yeah, I liked the game, but I was like, oh, wow, this is just such a deep blow compared to, I think, what most people were expecting.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was very, because I had a feeling it would be some kind of Asian-y game because he came out with like it started with a big taiko drum. And I was like, that can't be Half-Life. There's no taiko drums in Half-Life, or unless they're going a different direction. What do I know? But yeah, that was just such a weird, maybe it's also weird because, again, so many of us had really high expectations. Whoopsie.
Yeah,
My
I
bad.
don't know. I find it difficult. Like if I was in the UK still, I would not be waiting up at night. I would just get the summary in the morning because man, it's fucking late for them. Like even for me, I was like getting ready for work the next day, like you're up until 11:30 and you're like, "Come on guys, like give us anything. Give us something, please." At least they've got a VR, AR games category, which is great. That's good. That was installed a few years back. And it was the 10th anniversary that they had. So Game Awards, I'm glad it exists. They do an amazing job with the production. They had loads of people. Like I would recommend if you're into flat games, right? If you're into flat games, go watch it, right? Like because it's got some really cool moments. Bunch of big name people showed up on stage. They had Snoop Dogg, and I won't spoil the rest, but it was neat. And there are some sequels and things coming out that I'm really excited for next year. It was a nice span of video games and a celebration that way. I hope it continues. I just hope we see the VR part really kick off because so far the VR Game Awards showcases that are out there at the moment, they're just not enough. Or I get the sense that, I don't know, they're a little corrupt behind the scenes in terms of how games get awards. I really don't trust Game Award ceremonies, I'll say. And I am still on the prowl for kind of like a true critics cross section of what gets released every year so that I can be exposed to things maybe that I haven't seen, and we can get that. Rain Dance does a pretty good job for like indie titles, music, cinema, shorts, all that type of stuff, but we really don't have something for like the mainstream, what I'll call mainstream VR games, the stuff with big budgets paired up against the indies, right? And so I'd like to see that come out. I think this was nothing but really like a big old advertisement for MetaQuest, to be honest. So I don't know if I trust it. But at the same time, I do want to say, Camouflage do great games. So I'm, glad that they won.
Could be a lot worse. It could be like, I don't even remember the name of them now. All of the stupid movie awards we have where they're like some fancy hoity-toity films that like no one's ever watched. At least these games in the show I recognize.
You know them.
Yeah, so that's hopefully it doesn't turn into that. I mean, I don't think we have enough games right now where it could, but
yeah, but the point you just made, Adam, about like trying to keep up as well. I mean, 2024 has been a darn good year for VR games. There's been a lot dropping, and I suppose maybe we covered a little bit earlier Sora, but I don't know if you wanted to show anything more about that, Rowdy, before we get into the main topic of the new Android XR headset. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit. I know that they released basically it's in beta. That's basically all it is right now. So you're able to.
This is open to the public then, or is this behind a pay barrier? Do you know?
So I mean, it's definitely So it's definitely with credits, right? It's very similar to the way that they do their API. So you need to get. I don't think you can currently still join because of like it's a beta, it's a closed beta as well. Yeah. So there are people who have access and who are like, for example, I saw that MKBHD. He has been making quite a few different things, but yeah, it's just like a lot of wacky stuff that currently gets created. I know that we talked about it a little while ago about like some of those features. They are getting some feedback as well in terms of like a lot of people feel like it's very clear that a lot of the content has been trained on games specifically, which raises the question of copyright again, which is always complicated.
Where does that conclusion come from, Rowdy? Because I hadn't heard that before you said it just today. So what are they pointing at? Like, are they seeing like a game character in there? Are they seeing worlds that are clearly from a game? Like,
I think it often refers to particular styles that they see, like particular styles that get kind of like represented as well. I think that kind of is where it mainly comes from. They are limiting people from showing persons, so there are some limiting factors to that. For good reason, probably. And they are currently mainly doing this, I think, to do evaluation of like, what are these models? Well, not only, they probably have a pretty good idea of what they're capable of, but like, there's always the risk of people trying to jailbreak these models and then doing things that they did not intend for it to be used for. So we see a lot of that stuff is probably currently happening. This is their website, which you can see. I'm sharing that, right?
Yeah.
where you can see some of those clips that are all being AI generated. And you can indeed see like some of those game elements, they come back in there. But yeah, just the quality of the content seems very high. Of course, this is their front page, so they are showing their best stuff. But yeah, it looks just very impressive. Just in general, I would say, in the way that it's being done, and it's full text to video. So you're indeed able. What they're showing here is that you're able to, once a video is created, you're able to change that video as well into particular things. Like for example, this is opening doors to a library, and then they replace with a French door, then a spaceship, then remove the spaceship and add a jungle, and then replace a jungle with a lunar view. So all of these things are, it's all possible in that model with that text to video. You're able to do cuts in those videos. You're able to create specific loops to kind of create it. So for a content creator, this is probably very interesting to play with and to work with as well. You're able to extend videos, extend them before, extend them after, so you get longer frames, or you get more frames, longer sequences. You're able to do it with specific sequences in your own timelines. Here you can see that feature that I mentioned, where you're getting like this seamless loop, where the video seems to be repeating itself continuously.
Sora only does video though. You can't, like, if it's a person yawning, you wouldn't actually hear the yawn, right? It's video only. Or...
Yeah, correct. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, at this point, it's only video creation. So you would still have to.
So you have to dub in. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it looks captivating. It certainly looks like we're getting to the quality bar where, as you said, someone could put together even like short films. Kind of like the and the part that I'm really interested here is actually not video at all. It's virtual scenes. It's the holodeck experience that I want. Kind of like those short, Oculus Studios films, the Henry or anything like that, where like it's just something cute, but full high-res detail in VR. Like dream what you want to dream, and then be in it. That's where I see this going next. That's very exciting for me. I mean, I think back maybe 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, we talked about the whole idea of this sci-fi horror analogy of the paperclip machine, right? Like this machine that's intended to just make paperclips, and it results in the end of the universe. I'd love to see that video play out around me in a VR headset. Like the second I get a chance to use one of these prompts, that's what I'm making. It's like, show me the end of the world via the paperclip machine. I would love to see it. But what do either of you have like ideas that you're like just waiting to put into a movie generating model like this, like an engine?
Most of my experience still comes with like text and copy. So like why I'm not too worried about this is like, again, once it gets to the point where maybe getting tokens is cheaper, more widely available, like we'll see a lot of them. But just like articles today, you'll tell which ones are lower quality, people who maybe don't know prompts very well, or they just go with the most generic basic stuff instead of really tweaking it into something that doesn't look like something anyone else could make. And that's what I'm more looking forward to. Like we're probably going to see a bunch of like stuff that might be good for a quick tweet or shareable thing. I'm like, look, I made this person do that. But like the high quality stuff, that's going to really rise. Like we're just going to get fatigued, I think, of all of the generic AI stuff that'll come out of this, and I'm all right with that. I guess I am worried maybe for older people that are not so aware. But
not only that, but like the kind of quality that can get produced, because I know MKBHD made like a video that looked like a news report. Of course, it was no audio, but like these kind of things will look very realistic when they get produced. So yeah, like there is definitely some bad intentions with that. I think there's two main use cases that I think would be interesting. One is, I think, the obvious B-roll, where you have like just like a couple of seconds in a video for like just showing some B-roll for a particular kind of thing. I think that is, and the other one, I think it's currently probably too expensive for it because it's like a little bit more of a wacky concept, because you can see the pricing here as well. If you have ChatGPT Plus, it's $20 a month. ChatGPT Pro is $200 a month. With the Plus, you get about 50 priority videos. It's 1,000 credits. and up to 720p resolution, 5-second duration per video. While with the Pro version, you get 500 priority videos, unlimited relaxed videos. I don't really know what that means, but I'm guessing that it's like that you don't get the priority.
Just some dude in a sofa with a beer in his hand.
relaxing.
Yeah.
And you get up to 180p resolution, 20 seconds, and 5 concurrent generations. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept or have ever done like MUD, like MUD, which is like a
multi-user dungeons.
Yeah, like text-based multi-user dungeons. I think that there's possibilities for those kind of things to kind of come back a little bit, but then in a video format where you have your own adventure kind of thing with this text to video. I think that would be a really cool idea to see those kind of things happening where you're able to, and then at the end of your adventure, you get like a full, just like all of the sequences that you generated, all those little clips, all gets put together, and you get this kind of like, adventure film that you created yourself. I think something like that would be kind of cool once things get a bit cheaper, probably, to produce them.
Curious, can you be able to sort of feed it specific imagery and things ahead of time? Like, say I want B-roll using, I don't know, like a product that I've made. Like, say this specific figure, and I want
that's cool.
Like hands to be interacting with it or whatever, but it has to look like the figure you're selling, like I would want to, because like Coca-Cola, obviously that's a recognizable brand, so I feel like it could pull from whatever it's scraped from the internet over the years. But like for people who want to sell specific products in a creative way, can you be like, use this exact figure, this exact product imagery? Like I don't know. I think at that point, that's when I'd be like, oh man, that's pretty cool. I could just sell anything.
I don't think currently that you're able to insert particular things. There is a concept within, for example, image generation, which is called LoRa, L-O-R-A, where you're able to, it's kind of like a fine-tuning concept where you're bringing in a specific thing that you have, and you give that a specific name. So therefore the model gets associated with that. So it only needs to see a couple of examples. And likely we'll see that because movies are ultimately is just like multiple image generations, just sequence after each other at a particular frame rate. So that would be fairly easy to do. The only thing is, I don't think, because again, OpenAI Sora is proprietary, it would have to come from them. I don't know if that is currently integrated. I don't think so. But with these, community models that we are seeing to be released, that will definitely be.
Oh, that'd be cool. Because you could maybe say, I don't know, you're on vacation, you need B-roll of like, I'm covering this new headset, but you want to make sure it looks like the headset. It's not just giving you random generated headset models. It's like, show, me opening apart this thing, or I don't know, whatever you would need. Like that would be actually super useful. Or if maybe you don't have a good top-down view area, you don't have a good B-roll spot wherever you live, like then you could start doing things
or
like
even yourself,
useful.
Right? You can even upload a LoRa of yourself, which then and that is already possible now. Like it's just
avatars
not
of you
with LoRa, not even an avatar, but like someone who really looks like you. So that's definitely possible. Yeah.
That's weird. When we cross this, the trouble I have is like we're heading into trust no one land, where anything you see, even now, you kind of have to second guess it. But I would argue you can tell, right? Like, okay, I can tell if that's real or not. But we're like a year or two away from I can't tell anymore, and now I can't believe anything. And I don't know. It's gonna be a weird time. Now for games, it's great because you don't care about the truth necessarily. It's just like, give me the fun experience. I'll have that. Thank you very much. But when it comes to like real life and recordings of real life, that's weird. It's like there's no longer like immediately, even a paper picture, right, from the 80s, you can no longer trust it. It's like, oh, here's me standing next to this person. Yeah, but you could have done that with AI. Like, how can I prove? Like, all of that gets invalidated once we cross that line.
Incredibly powerful.
I still see that now on social media where someone posts a video and then you have in the comments, it's like, oh, that's AI generated. And like, it could be, but if it wasn't, then you'll feel really bad because it's like, no, I actually made this video. It's not AI generated, and then it sounds insulting almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very weird.
Yeah, and I've seen that as well, where people get like, they're just like, oh, well, that must have been easy. You You just AI'd
Like
that,
trick shots or anything, something that looks like it required some skill. They're like, oh, you didn't do that. That's AI. And then it's like, oh, like if it is, I mean, granted, I don't know. And I'm also skeptical in that camp. But if it was something they actually did, then that's just negating how cool of a thing that actually was. Because it's like, oh, I could just put that into Sora and, you're not special.
Right. But the problem is we have a very short window here. And there's the difference between, say, a baked video and a live broadcast. And at the moment, you would need to have a baked video in order to fool someone. But before long, it's going to be even a live camera feed. If you're not there at the event watching the thing, kind of like, China's been found out to do for their Olympics, where it's like, well, maybe there weren't that many fireworks. Maybe there wasn't a full crowd. You start to question everything, even the stuff that you're watching broadcast live. It's going to be a funny world ahead of us. Anyway, cool update, Rowdy, because this stuff is still scintillating. I can't wait to jump into a game that leverages this stuff and actually get that holodeck experience. It's what's been sold to us for the last kind of 7-8 years, and man, I'm so looking forward to that, because you can kind of like what we did in this room just recently. You can kind of turn your actual world into something else, something augmented, and so looking forward to kind of rolling happily off of that cliff at some point in the future.
And maybe really quickly to show, because I know that Adam asked about it. I connected with I don't know if you know him, like it's David Usher. He used to be the lead, or maybe still is, the lead singer of Moist. It looks like a Canadian band. They had this famous song.
I'm very familiar with Moist.
Yeah. Push, but he's very much into AI. We got connected, but what he does a lot now is like he's creating like his music videos using AI. So he indeed like uploaded like a version of himself in like one of these like text to video models, and he's been using AI to generate these kind of like music videos. So you can see a clip here of him doing that, which is really interesting to see. See just the quality that is getting delivered using an AI persona of himself, basically, to generate these kind of music video clips, which is crazy to see.
I'm disappointed. Didn't make me moist at all.
I've kind of wanted to try one of those personas though, because like on a lot of the like creative studio auto captioner things, they also include a like, so I could, if I wanted to do a talking head as a AI version of me instead, I could do it. But I'm kind of curious to try it, but I don't know. I don't think I'd use it because I feel like it wouldn't be quite there yet, where like little things about me might change that I'm like, everyone's gonna see that. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't know. If I try it, I'll give it a shot and I'll post it somewhere where people can laugh at it or be like, that's just you. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Neat. That's cool. Okay, so that was all about Sora. Let's go ahead and move on to our main topic today, which is the massive news from Google about a new Android XR operating system, which is a branch of their core Android platform. The first headset that'll be sporting this is going to be a mixed reality headset from Samsung. The headset itself looks a bit like a Meta Quest Pro, with a stiff band and headrest at the back. No battery in there. The front end is glossy, might be glass. Looks a bit like an Apple Vision Pro, if you were to slim it down a bit. And it's got a forehead mount up the front, kind of like the first PSVR. So this is an interesting take. It's remarkable that we've had from HoloLens to Meta Quest Pro to now this new Android XR-based Samsung headset, kind of the same form factor coming back again. Now, I'll say that my first reaction to this was, great. Another thing that if I drop it, it's going to shatter. The front end of it that has unfortunately moved forward like the Vision Pro. I don't know why we put glass on things. I know we have glass phones. My phone's front and back is glass. So now we're going to need some kind of protector, or I don't know how we're going to deal with it, but these things don't really stand the test of time. You put them in hands of people who fumble the ball and they get busted. But let's talk a little bit about the unique selling points about this one. So one of the first things is that so Google are essentially taking on Meta's Horizon OS, something that they were opening up to third parties to leverage. So you could have the full software stack, just jump in, create your own headset. I assume they're paying a licensing fee or something like that to Meta. But this new Samsung headset, nicknamed for the moment Project Muhin, Muhin is going to leverage some of the core features of Android XR, which honestly sound really quite salivating. First one, the Play Store, which you might know if you have an Android. It's just like the App Store on the iPhone and the iOS ecosystem, allows flat apps, which will be available by default, unless devs choose to opt out, on this headset. So very similar to the news we heard from Meta, where they're coming with, all these 2D apps kind of coming to the forefront. Straight out the box would be usable in a spatial operating environment. Things like Chrome and Gmail, Calendar, and all that. And the user interface that you're using to interact with, multiple menus in a spatial environment looks very much like the Vision OS that we have on Apple's Vision Pro. The processor itself is an XR2 Plus Gen 2, which is one step above the Quest 3. It's going to have controllers, so that's good. Learning from Apple's mistake. And those have not been seen yet, so we don't know the shape. But I'm going to hazard a guess and say they're going to look a bit like what we have on Quest 3, most likely. Hand tracking is there. You're able to do either the usual presenter laser pointer, or use your eyes for the eye tracking that's in the headset and pinch, much like the Apple Vision Pro allows as well. It's going to be pancake lenses with auto IPD adjustment, so no physical sliders for IPD. With, I suppose, as a characteristic connector, because it's got eye tracking, has the ability to measure and set the headset to your IPD. So integrated eye tracking, pancake lenses that everyone's loving of late. The FOV from people who've tested this say that it appears slightly smaller than Quest 3 or Vision Pro. Hat tip there to Rowdy VR for their comments on this. Also, it's got the ability, kind of like what we've got with Meta AI now coming into Quest 3, is Gemini, the vocal conversational agent that allows free-form conversations, much like Meta AI, but it also, as a step above what Apple Vision Pro currently does, allows you to ask questions about your current in real life environment and what you're seeing in the headset. So you could say, for example, hey, take me to San Francisco, and it pulls up Google Maps and throws you into the 3D geometry around you and shows you that. Or you could say, hey, what's over across my room? And they're like, you have 5 cats. They're all underfed. Come out of VR and feed them, you bastard. Might not use that language specifically. And Android XR may also underpin a new wave of smart glasses from Google, or again, third parties leveraging this operating system, which is pretty cool. Now, another feature that I know Jose would be cheering for, and I'm not, is tethered battery pack. So the tethered battery pack, this is not a headset that has like the Meta Quest Pro, where you had, battery on the headset itself. It's like the Apple Vision Pro tethered. I didn't get to see the tether, so I can't remark on how that looks and if it's a proprietary puck or I don't know, pack like the Apple Vision Pro. But again, the thought there being you slide it into a pocket, into your purse, over your shoulder, into a backpack, whatever it is. But the headset has a physical tether to the battery that's separate from the headset itself. Just a couple more features, and then I'll open for your guys' comments, both in chat and here in the crew. So there's a rigid strap at the rear, and I was going to have drum roll. Can we have that drum, please, from the Game Awards? No top strap. Again, making the same mistake that we've seen on this design again and again. So it's requiring basically the forehead to back of skull pressure compressor with no top strap, like the mistake they made with the Vision Pro, with the Quest Pro, with every bloody headset that shares this design. It does, however, sport, like the Quest Pro had, an open, peripheral open design, like the Quest Pro. So the screen hangs in front of you. You can see your surroundings left and right, like you're a goose or a duck, and still look at VR or mixed reality experiences when you like. It also has magnetic snap-on blinders, like the Quest Pro did, for anyone who played with those funny little flanges that you just like clicked into the headset in case you want to blank out your world around you because it's a terrible, it's falling apart and all that. Rowdy likes to think it's going to be a lovely future. I don't agree. And there's no price or specifics on this headset yet. So please, Adam, Rowdy, what are your thoughts on this headset design?
Non-Mac person here.
I
I'm
would
excited
say-
for it.
Yeah.
I sorry, Rowdy. I'm just like,
Go ahead.
yay. I mean, hopefully, I know that we won't. It's not going to be like the Vision Pro because Apple is just so distances away when it comes to design and UI and functionality. But it's nice to at least get an equivalent for those of us who don't want to buy all the MacBooks and the iPhones and the everything else. Again, we don't know the price of this, which kind of still concerns me.
Take a guess. Take a guess. Go on. Throw it out there for history's sake.
How
What do you
much
think
was
this is going to cost?
what was the Apple Vision Pro price again?
$3,500 at the base model.
Go.
And remember, this is not. So if we compare, Apple Vision Pro had discrete chip, very much like it was his own laptop, right? This is closer to, in terms of the specs, with the XR2 Gen 2 plus Gen 2, whatever. The chipset is a mobile chipset. So I would expect it to be priced closer to Quest line than Apple Vision Pro. But
Yes, I
what do you
think it'll
think?
be cheaper, but I think it'll still be around like 1,500 is my
Fair.
guess.
Yep. Now Quest Pro launched at that a couple of years ago now and flopped. So you still think it's going to be 1,500?
Yes, but it's not Meta, you know?
Well, you do have the eye tracking. You do have the pancake lenses. So
I think now that the Apple Vision Pro has been in existence and people are sort of warming up to the idea of what it can do besides just gaming, because the Quest Pro, we already had other Quest headsets, kind of surrounding it, and it's just in a weird spot. But this is I know it's using the Meta OS, but it's like we're using a different store now. We're using the Play Store. We've got a different kind of company behind this one. So I don't know. I think
I'm thinking under 1,000 for sure.
yeah.
The reason why is that Apple. The reason why the Apple headset is expensive is not because of the materials, not even because of the technology that is in there. I would say I think it's because it's an Apple product and it's the finish and the brand that is associated with it, and mainly the integration with all the other devices that you have to purchase for that headset to be really useful. It's Samsung has made the hardware, which is true, but the operating system is not something that is Samsung proprietary. It's probably where Samsung will give its own flavor to, and I think that like cuts in the cost a lot, just in general, because I don't think that they'll be competing directly with that Apple headset in that price range, at least. I'm thinking.
So what about this is coming out next year, the Samsung version sporting the now Android XR OS. So their main competitor might be the second lighter weight version, lighter cost version of the Apple Vision Pro. And if that comes in so the first one was 3,500, say that comes in at 2,000. You think this one would be staged to compete with that? Or is their main competition more like Quest? I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't think they're competing with specifically Apple, because again, Apple it's their own operating system, it's their own devices, to really maximize the use, you kind of need other devices too, I would say. I know that Jose disagrees with that a little bit, but he's not here, so screw him.
Screw him.
But I think that's where the real attractiveness of the headset comes in, is that integration. So Apple can price it at whatever they want. I don't think they'll make it cheaper, at least not for now.
It's a good question here. So I saw Adam light up a little bit as an Android user. I'm an Android user too, who escaped the Apple ecosystem. So been there, done that, right? They got me with the click wheel iPods and all that kind of stuff back in the day. I went through the iPod Touch, iPhone era and enjoyed it, but then found my way out the back door. So what do you think on that point of integration? Like, what would you want this headset to do? They already mentioned, obviously, like the, Google Chrome, Gmail, calendar app, like all that kind of stuff that would be there from day one. But in terms of integrating with other Android functions or features, like what do you need? What do you need to be a happy Android user and to pick up this headset? Like what would incentivize you to pick this up?
Actually like the fact that it's going to be using some of the apps that I maybe already use on my phone, like getting some sort of I guess it doesn't have to be necessarily too VR XRified, but like Duolingo, for example. Like there's things they could do specifically for language learning in their app that would be unique to this headset. That because like they're like I use Duolingo as an example because they're really innovative with the things that how they try to teach you things. Like now they're coming up with like, oh, you can do a video call with one of the characters and speak that language or whatever. They could do some really cool stuff with this if they made like an XR version of this. But even now, like someone was mentioning,
quick shout to Noun Town. Have you tried that?
Oh yeah, Noun Town's good too, but you only learn nouns. You don't learn sentences.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is that kind of idea to have objects come to you in a spatial environment where you're learning, like that call you mentioned, or objects you're seeing, or being in a dining room setting and seeing the objects and testing you in that way that might go into your head a little bit more readily. I think that's a great example. Sorry, Rowdy, you were trying to interject as well.
Yeah, again, I wanted to mention, like, for a lot of these applications, we're going to have to look first at what they're doing for the Apple headset. Because I think that's usually where that innovation is kind of driven. It's also easier because of the integration across devices. With Android, it's always a little bit more complicated because you have multiple kinds of devices, multiple flavors of operating systems. So it makes it a little bit more complicated, I would say. But I'm thinking that we'll probably see a lot of those integrations happening on the Apple side of things, and then the more popular ones will eventually move to Android as well. Just to mention, this is probably the first headset that we'll see, but it will likely not be the last. And there will probably be a competing market between different ones of those. So maybe they're not directly competing with the Quest, or maybe not directly competing with the Apple headset, but it's going to be its own market where they're going to be competing in. And currently, I think their mission is more about creating that you need that headset, rather than what else can you do that you can currently do on other headsets? Because I don't really think that that's what they're aiming for. Very much like Apple is doing with their headset, is trying to create a need for that headset, which I don't really think is working right now yet.
I agree. Yeah.
But give it some time and they'll probably figure it out.
I think as a mobile workstation, that's probably the biggest unique selling point for Apple Vision Pro right now.
But it has to be better. It has to make sense.
I know what you're saying. So like I think it's a price play. I think Android as itself, and if I contrast against Apple Vision Pro, I need Steam VR support in that headset, because without it, why am I buying another headset to do anything? Like I can watch movies on my phone. I can watch movies in a Quest. If I'm an Apple Vision Pro user, I can do that there. Like what would attract me to get this headset? I'm struggling as an Android fella to answer that, because Android is kind of, the whole point of Android is that it's kind of generic. It's kind of like, I just get the apps. Any dev can really put it on the platform. It's not a walled garden. It doesn't have the same critique nor the level of quality as Apple's ecosystem, but I kind of like that. I like the ability that I can just kind of easily get in there. But when I think about porting my use of VR to like a Samsung headset sporting this Google Android XR operating system, I don't know that there's any unique selling point that's really pulling me over.
But again, I'll play Jose for a moment here, but they're not going to be competing with, I think, any of those VR games, but it's multiple screens. That's their main selling point right now, that you have multiple screens as a workstation setup, that you're able to, you don't need the multiple screen setup anymore, but you have a headset and you can now make them any size that you want. I know that.
So as a working, so you're saying like as a working headset, because of the resolution,
that's their main selling point for sure. For these kind of things,
basically it's the PC versus the Apple, basically is what we're saying.
Yeah, because again, like you mentioned, you don't need it to watch movies, because you can watch movies on so many devices. There's so many out there that you can watch it on. You don't need it for playing games, because again, there's so many devices. And currently, the price point is too high, I think, for it to become like a general gaming device, like a desktop PC where you say like, I can do anything on this desktop. I can play games, I can play VR, I can watch movies, I can browse the internet, I can work on it. we're not there yet. Eventually, maybe. But I think currently their unique selling point is probably like using multiple screens, higher resolution, less clutter on the desk and these kind of things. Is that enough? I personally don't think so, but
they're missing a big piece though. Like Apple Vision Pro brought about, engineering weird, but personas. The idea that you could scan your face, forget about fixing your hair or whatever. You can jump onto a call, Skype, Zoom, whatever you want, and here's me, right? I'm in the headset. I can work in the headset, and I don't have to worry about how I look, and I don't have to be on a call with my face. And even people in the room, not the best engineering in the first version, but they can see my face on the front of it, so they kind of look at my eyes. But like this headset doesn't do that. It's more like a Quest Pro. You're putting yourself into that virtual space, but I don't see anything that's going to compete with that aspect of Apple Vision Pro and the details we've seen so far.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, like I just want to
combine all my shit together. I want my phone apps and my computer stuff to be in one place, because there are some stuff, certain apps on my phone that maybe the desktop version is just complete shit, or it's just way easy to. So if there's a way to just be able to combine both of these devices into one device that I could then not have to be necessarily stationed here, I think that'd be beneficial. I don't know if that's going to be good enough, but
but the issue is there's some technical limitations to that currently, because that's what they basically did with the first iPhone, right? They were like, you have your iPod, you have your phone, I want both of those in the same device. Take my music library, put it in my iPhone, and that was the unique selling point. You can now have your
and
music,
the camera. And
then the camera. So they brought multiple devices in one. Currently, I don't think that any headset could be able to replace, for example, your phone or your laptop. Eventually, yeah, I think so.
AVP can. Laptop? Yeah.
Yeah, but no. Like, nobody's going to replace their entire laptop with an Apple Vision Pro.
Right. Oh, okay. So you mean like realistically, start to the end of my day, I've thrown away my laptop and I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough. Not yet.
Not yet. And when that happens, then sure, and that will happen. I think so. But currently, I don't think that we're there. Would you get rid of your phone if you had an Apple Vision Pro? No, you would just have an extra device. The same as an iPad. You have an iPad, and I think that iPad has great unique selling points, but it's not. You're not going to get rid of your phone because you now have an iPad. Same with a watch. You're not going to get rid of your phone because you now have a watch. But eventually, maybe all of those devices, if they can figure it out, make the form factor small enough, less intrusive, more comfortable, all of those things, then yeah, I can see that happening. And that is when we reach the point that, like everybody wants this device. And you're going to see hundreds of these devices coming from different kind of manufacturers. Currently, I don't think we're there. So they need to figure out another unique selling point so that they can keep on working on that.
You just sold me on a future, Rowdy. A future with no watch because it's digitally there, and I'm just wearing a headset. A future with no Skyrim jumper because it's digitally there. A future with no underpants because who needs them? Everyone's in VR, and oh god, don't take off your headset, honey. Right? So like, how far are we going to go? I've said before, maybe a couple of years ago, I still think that when we get to that future where everyone's got smart glasses with a HUD up or whatever. Eventually, traffic like signs and lights will be gone. We won't need that infrastructure anymore because it's expensive to keep it there. It's expensive to install it. You won't need road markings necessarily because that's all going to be just a layer on top. I know it sounds dangerous right now,
if
but when
it's
it
dark
gets to
outside,
this
it's going to be
reliable.
hard for these VR headsets.
Well, no, because they have night vision, Rowdy.
Okay.
They have night vision. We're like Sam Fisher, and we're going to go ahead and be
as if we're going to be driving
in the dark, butt naked, driving. Yeah, we're not even driving our cars, right? Just load me in the trunk.
Self-driving cars? Yeah, there's just like chips in the roads now, and so you don't need a headset. You just go in your auto car, put where you want to go, and it just takes you. You don't need a headset for that.
Yes, good
self-driving
point.
helicopters. That's what I need.
Okay.
Yeah, helicopters aren't stable. Even the best of times. But so this is pretty neat. It's a new the thing that excites me way more than the Samsung Project Muhan is just the Android XR stack. Like that is cool. That's exciting to me. But as a gamer, I look at it and I go, what am I playing?
Yeah.
What am I playing? There's no Google Play for
That's not
for
what they're
AR,
competing
MR,
for.
like Apple have. Apple have, loads of, they had AR kit out there for the last 6 years. People have been building apps for it. Like, it's got utility. They're really starting, like, they're coming back. I'm glad to see Samsung back in the market, right? Since they, for those who don't know, they were here with you could take your phone, what was it, Galaxy 6 or 4 or 5, and slap it into a piece of plastic mounted on your face, and that was the Gear VR, the Samsung Gear VR. So they've done trade-off headsets before, I'm keen to see where they go with it, but the gamer in me says, I don't think so. I think it is more business office use case, like what you were saying, Rowdy.
Even though
I wouldn't
Meta
buy
doesn't
it,
like Meta doesn't want to be kind of known as a gaming headset, but it's kind of a gaming headset. So that's
is a
where
gaming
they've claimed. So now that
Tossers.
I think that's the thing other headsets are going to have to focus on is just non-gaming use cases if they want to attempt to, be in the VR industry hardware-wise, because it's already Meta. Why do you want another Meta?
Well, it would be smart for them to do that, right? Because let's say that Apple becomes the standard business, headset that everyone owns for their work, then it's only a matter of time before they'll be able to pull people into the gaming market as well. And that's why Facebook is also trying to portray themselves as like a business kind of headset, because if they can make that spot, then they secure their gaming future. Because the reason why, Steam is such a popular platform is because everyone has a desktop, because you need a desktop or you need a computer to do work or whatever. So it makes sense from that perspective.
Yeah, and now the next question is this the time that Microsoft and Xbox partner? I know they've got some partnership already stoked up with Meta, on and off again, hot, cold relationship there. But maybe they bring Xbox on an Android basis? Is that possible?
Not themselves. I think they prefer hiring other people to do as much of that stuff for them as possible. Like, I don't know. They like. I don't want to say lazy. That's probably the incorrect term, but it's more of like, what's the minimal amount of work we can do to get these things to happen? Like very low effort. Have someone else do it for us. Another platform.
But Microsoft is just not that type of industry, right? Or that kind of company. Like if you look at like how long did PlayStation exist before we had the first Xbox?
Yeah. They entered late for sure. But I don't know what's going to happen with the console wars as XR starts to come in. Like, what happens as these teams pivot? I mean, Sony's got their footing, I'd say pretty sure footing with PSVR1 and PSVR2. They've got studios. They know how to build VR stuff. They've made great products. Microsoft hasn't really dabbled in that yet. They have done, obviously, Google, they've done, sorry, not Google Glass. That was Google. They've had several, combos, like with the original Rift, for example. They're like, yeah, let's have the Xbox in the box. Let's, with Quest 3 and Quest 3S, like, let's bring the Microsoft suite of applications to the headset. Let's bring Azure security layers on for industrial purposes. They're dabbling, but no one's made a real play yet. And
but that's
wonder
not how they operate as a company. Like even Windows was the same. Like, it was basically, after Apple already had an operating system, and like they typically join the market when it's already established, and then because of their name they can now dominate, and they know how to do that very well, and they have like a shit ton of patents like across like multiple types of technologies and industries, so they're making money either way. Like they don't need to
I know
to drive that market forward.
This is what I'm not understanding is like, where does this Android XR platform take us next? Like, we end up with a headset kind of like, Pico was doing. You have an alternative headset. You can go to there. If you don't like Meta, you can go there. You can get a standalone device. You can do your business work for less money, for less outlay, for example, with a less powerful headset. It's kind of like the budget laptop.
Right, but I mean,
XR, it seems,
their play is just like, if you want to do AR applications right now, the only really way to do it is either on the Meta Store or it's on the Apple Vision Pro. And the Apple Vision Pro is winning in that regard, I would say. Like they have the superior headset, they have the superior technology, but there is nothing out there for the Google Play Store, which is still a mobile store. So there is currently just nothing out there. So the only way I would see Android or Google to keep up with that is to start building, their platform out and then release that to people, and then eventually start competing with Apple Vision Pro, to start competing not with the headsets, but with their markets in terms of the applications, because that's where the real money is.
So before I dispute or refute that, what was the application that you were saying Apple Vision Pro was winning for? Productivity or what?
No, just like AR, just in general, like the way. I'm not winning in the way that most people play AR.
Not market
with the
share,
Apple Vision Pro.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of technology, in terms of
Quality.
Okay.
quality,
Leading. So
yeah.
So you mean okay?
Leading
So they're
technology.
leading.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I can nod to that. For a second, I was like, no, I'm gonna bring out the market share stats. We're gonna say
No.
it's like, honestly, I think Meta are in a really interesting corner right now. I do think it's dangerous. The whole like Ready Player One notion, right? Like, are we headed in that direction? Kind of feels like we are. I'm glad there's another competitor. That's it. Competition is good for the market. Competition is good for a number of things. So excited for it. But I really need that answer. I need the gamer answer of, feck it, what are you bringing me? Like, what is this Android XR platform going to allow me to do? I know there are MR games, right, on the Play Store right now. I can go play Pokemon Go, for example. And if you can bring me an Android headset with Pokemon Go, that I'm not going to walk down the streets with it, but if it was $800, would I buy one? I'd be encouraged to, just to play with it, because it was like a new thing. But if it's $1,500, like Adam's saying, no way I'm making the kind of Quest Pro, mistake again. It's too much outlay for too little unique selling point for me. Okay, I'll pose that same question to you, and then we'll move on. If this headset was priced at $799 US, would you buy one?
You asking me?
Both of you. Yeah.
Well, no, because I have no use for it, right?
I'm an Apple fanboy.
Exactly.
Look at my ears. Look at these
I'm used to
beautiful.
prestige.
No, but I also wouldn't buy the Apple Vision Pro. Not because it's too expensive, but
Utility, yeah.
I currently don't see myself using it as much as I should. Even if it was $1,000, I would
justify
not buy it. Yeah, because I just don't see it currently being a replacement for any of the other things that I have.
Adam?
I think I would need to see who's planning on or already building on this thing, because we've gotten some hints, or at least I've seen on social media so far. Like I've seen the Alchemy Labs people, they have got some kind of Android XR thing, which that is, again, interesting, but not enough for me. So I need to see more previews of who is it that's actually currently or will be making things for this headset to make it worth it for me. And I know, like Rowdy said, this is going to be the one where probably, maybe it is like the Meta Pro, where it's just your developer playground. It's the step one until we get to something that's more established, more developers are making stuff on it. I guess also like the AVP, except Apple's just got its own fancy, like, just even when making the thumbnail, I'm just like, Samsung is just so unsexy compared to Apple. It's so ugly. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, so at least their headsets.
I'm really curious. Like, I think the look of it is decent. Like, I tend to like the kind of,
but the
like
branding. I mean, like there's branding of like Apple versus Samsung. I'm like, God, like it's just. And I know it's like Apple is really good about just making really easy to get into, as minimal stuff goes wrong as possible. So I am also kind of apprehensive on like, so much shit's probably going to go wrong with this headset. It's Android, which is, on the flip side, it's great because you can do more things, but then that's the problem, is there's more things that can go wrong. So I feel like
for a tinkerer,
potentially might be
like
rough watch.
Android is definitely more interesting, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
You like to experiment.
Have we had any? I'm gonna hate saying this at some point in the future. Have we had any VR operating system viruses yet? Anything that's like locked you out of content or
do you want me to try?
Wipe your device? Yes, Adam the hacker, please try to create a world-spreading VR virus. Yes.
I was gonna make one. I was just gonna if I have a headset I don't care about, just try to download as much shit as I can on it and see what happens.
No, I'm just curious. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think it's complicated because
all
of
right,
operating
so
systems.
That's the OS. So we've got the OS from Google. We've got the new Project Muhan Android XR sporting hardware from Samsung coming next year. No details on price yet. It's going to have controllers. It's going to have a tethered battery pack. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how they go. I'm welcoming more competition, and I think I'm not going to buy one. We'll see. Let me eat my words at a later date. Okay. Well, with that, Adam's got some holiday releases to share with us all. So, Adam, fire away.
Instead of yo yo yo, can I go ho ho ho?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes.
I think we talked enough about hookers today.
That's right. That's right.
I gotta keep it themed, right? It's fitting
like
with
it.
both the 'tis the season and the topic of today's podcast, apparently.
Ho ho ho.
Since hookers.
But in lieu of Jose not being here, and instead of doing our regular game releases, I have been over this past month compiling a huge list of games that are already out that have Christmas, winter, whatever holiday, whatever politically correct term you want to use, updates. It's a big list, so if you want to see the full thing, it's up on my Twitter and Blue Sky, whichever you prefer. But I'll only go over 4. These are 4 that were some of my highlights, or that I've played, or that I need to go in and I'm planning on playing.
Cool.
The first one is Walkabout Mini Golf, a beloved classic. They have a DLC that's called Holiday Hideaway. And this is basically a little North Pole lodge. It's got a big Christmas tree, and so all of the different courses are take place on different parts of the tree, or maybe on a table that's nearby. And it's really cool. I actually played this one with friends, and when you zoom out to that like full map view that it usually gives you, you actually feel like a normal person in a room. Like most of the courses just make you feel like a big person, but when you're in that zoomed out, you just feel like a normal person in a normal room. But it was such a cute course. There's a lot of great things they did.
Are you mini? Are you're small in that?
So you're
right?
small when you're actually putting and that stuff.
Okay.
But
That looks really nice. I've just lined up like an 8-player walkabout mini golf session for the holidays with my family abroad, and so I'm
get
gonna
them
download.
DLC.
Pay that, yeah. That still works. Is it single instance? One person, the host, can purchase it, and everyone else can play.
Yes,
You know?
it's just the other people can't collect the balls.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Always
My
the
wife will have
balls.
none of that. Yeah, she loves the balls, so I'm gonna ask her to buy an extra copy.
Someone clip that.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. Before we hear too much, I have heard way too much already. Next one is Trombone Champ. They have released an update where there's a new stage. It's a wintry themed stage. There's also a few holiday themed trombones, and they mentioned that they will be releasing a new song almost every day until the end of the year. I think today actually they it was Silent Night or one of those. It's a little Christmas classics that you can ruin for your family by playing in trombone format, and it's awesome. Okay, the third one I have, this one I actually haven't tried yet, but I need to get into again, is Walltown Wonders.
Oh, nice.
Walltown Wonders, that's the mixed reality game where you're basically building a town out of your wall. And I guess for this update, they've added a new holiday quest chain. And based on the video that they posted, all of your town, all the different buildings and stuff are totally decorated out.
Covered?
What?
Just lots of cocaine sprinkled over everything.
Snow,
right?
cocaine, I mean, whatever, hookers, sure, just put it all together. It's one of those shows. Why not? But yeah, I haven't tried this Walltown Wonders update, but I really want to. I actually haven't even I haven't finished the game. I don't even know if there is.
Yeah, how do you, right? It probably is linear. There's probably a way to beat it, I think.
Yeah, but at least I know for sure I haven't unlocked all of the buildings that you can, but I do want to do that just to see how much I can fill, how many buildings I can fill with my walls until I run out of wall space.
Oh Lord, no! They destroyed the beach. The beach is now covered in the beach is now covered in snow.
But it's an ice skating rink. That's cute, right?
It's very cute. They've got a lot of doodads. But I don't understand this. Like, people come out with holiday updates. It frustrates the hell out of me because they never have time around the holiday season. Then they're gone, after a month or something. It's nice when you can turn them on. It's nice when you can kind of turn them on again.
No. It's like the McRib. You only got to get it during that's the things they want you. You got to come in during that only certain time. I'm not saying it's a good strategy, but it works.
Is that a
Apparently.
McDonald's Christmas
Yeah,
special?
you haven't heard about? I mean, the McRib is back. You haven't seen those? Like
It's
people
only
go
for
crazy
festive
over the
holidays?
McRib.
Ribs on Christmas?
I
I'm
don't know if
confused.
it's Christmas specifically it comes out, but it's only around a certain time of year. I don't eat it, but it's a big thing. People are super into the McRib. I don't know. American stuff.
Is there actually any bone in that? Because I if it's
I don't
McDonald's,
eat
I
it.
want.
See, this is why I wish Jose was here so he could back me
Yeah,
up. Like the
he would-
McRib is a
he would
big
know.
deal in the States.
I have no idea.
Damn it. Now I feel anyway.
All right, chat.
I'm
You tell us.
sad. Kayak VR. Okay, we got one that's not on the Quest for those of you who may stick to Steam or PSVR2.
Oh.
It's not quite new. Every year they transform the Kings Canyon map into like a festive version. So there's a bunch of lights everywhere, Christmas trees, there's Santa flying by and fireworks and stuff. But I wanted to give a special shout out to this one because earlier in the year or sometime this year, they released their multiplayer mode. So now you can actually go through this, their Christmased out kayaking Kings Canyon with a friend or a loved one, which I love. And I'm going to force my husband to do this now because I'm so excited.
Yeah, I might. That's what I want to do, but my wife is not going to touch water again. She doesn't.
Even virtual water.
I'll have to find a buddy. It's okay. But it looks
But it's
lovely. The lighting is
Christmassy.
amazing. Is this on
Yeah.
sorry, is that the like the Czech Republic one? Or Slovenia
I
or
think it's
wherever it is?
Australia.
Australia. Okay.
It's
So the
not a
first
DLC. Yeah, it's one of the maps that comes with the base game.
Okay.
They just transform it during the holidays. They do it
That's
every
cool.
year, but again, this year multiplayer. So I'm like, yeah, it'd be fun to go through there with someone else. It's nice, but
That is very nice.
yeah. So if you want, again, I have at least like probably 15 plus on that whole thread now. So if you
Wow.
want to see more games that have done Christmas holiday updates, as soon as I see one, I post about it. Adam Bombardi, either on Twitter, X, or Blue Sky, I post them both on there. So there's a ton. There's probably something there for everybody. Good luck trying them all.
I got a question for you then, because what was it, last year? Maybe the year before? Last year, I think.
Mhm.
We had Anton Hand on, and he like regularly does very wide sweeping like holiday updates. Do you know if he has one out this year with his hot
I haven't
dogs?
checked this year because I know he's moved over to Blue Sky. So most of my news I've still been getting from X. Like I'm trying to do both lately.
Yep.
But I'll check. I'll definitely add him to the list if I see anything. But I know I think he was getting a little fatigued of Meatmas.
Of
So
Meatmas?
we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of work for him. It's like a month's worth of
Yeah.
effort to just, put stuff out. But it was really neat to kind of go into that game and, open presents and get random guns and have different modes in there. He's done such
Mhm.
amazing work with that title. We're talking
Yeah.
about hot dog, horseshoes, and hand grenades. The other one that I saw, again, on Twitter, but I'm also exploring Blue Sky, is Lego Bricktails. Lego Bricktails is like my favorite game from last year. Played right in like last December or something. And they've brought the cocaine into Lego as well. So there's sprinkling of powdered snow, and that's nice. Cool. So you've got a list of did you say 15, 20?
15 plus. I usually add
Damn.
more every day. As soon as I see them, I'm like, all right, we're adding this to the list. It's probably, I want to make it the most comprehensive VR holiday updates list that exists. And it's probably, there's not many of us out there that probably love VR and love Christmas. So I might be the only one doing it and pat myself on the back for that. Okay, good job, me.
That is absolutely an Adam thing. So very cool. Thanks for sharing the updates there, Adam. Of your list of 4, can you just recap the names that people should be focusing on and checking out this season?
Yes. There's a Walkabout Mini Golf. That one's the Holiday Hideaway DLC. So that one you do have to pay for. I can't remember the price off the top of my head. Maybe like $3 or $4, something like that.
Yeah.
Trombone Champ. That one has a free update and updates that keep going almost every day till the end of the year. Walltown Wonders. That update's already in. Also free. The update's free, not the game. And then Kayak VR as well. Their update's already in and does not require any additional purchases.
Well, that is lovely. Certainly gets us all in the mood for a nice VR and MR holiday season. Right. Well, we're here at the end of the show, so let's recap the show times and then get ourselves back to gaming or making cookies, whichever you prefer. The FReality Podcast runs every 2 weeks, every other Saturday, both here on YouTube and Twitch. Timestamps are inbound. Jose's on the Santa sleigh. And an audio version lands midweek on SoundCloud, Spotify, and iTunes, thanks to Elf Rowdy. Look at his pointy ears. Chat, thanks to everyone for coming out live, hanging with us today. Next episode, again, keep an eye on the dates. It might be more or less than 2 weeks away. We're going to figure out, but that's going to be our end of year, give our game of year for VR, MR, that type of content. And also do our usual annual roundup. So we use Slido for that, and we collect your thoughts, your words, and it's where Furniture Reality was born. So come back for that one. It's going to be a hell of fun. If we don't talk to you before the new year turns over, I think we will, but in case we don't, have a lovely holiday season and a happy new year from us at FReality. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Take care.